I can't believe I almost forgot to make my annual comic relief video, but here we are, and better late than never, as they say. Now, for those of you who don't know what comic relief is, it happens here every year, annually, and it's run by the BBC, so that should tell you everything. And I remember when it started back in the 80s, it had everyone who was anyone at the time on British telly and in the movies doing their bit to raise money, and the money was meant to be going to Africa, starving African communities, etc., disabled people here and elsewhere. It did have good intentions. However, we've since learned the money has been lining the pockets of African dictators and warlords, so the poor people really don't get to see a penny. I mean, all that money Britain has raised since Live Aid, Band Aid, the Christmas #1s, Don't They Know It's Christmas. The generous British public have donated billions, I reckon, to Africa, and look at the state of it still. And we're still giving, despite the fact that we can hardly afford anything ourselves these days, thanks to the cost of living crisis and Zelensky's wife wanting to go on yet another Paris shopping trip. And on top of our generous nature, we also give to poor countries, including China and India, would you believe me or not? Both countries with multi-billionaires and space programs. The British public pay foreign aid through our taxes, and that's to the tune of yet more billions. Now, if the world was a block of flats, then Britain is the old pensioner who has absolutely nothing, not a penny to her name, and her neighbours are drug dealers, and they knock in on the door and keep asking for money, and she gives willingly. That's the only metaphor I can think of to describe this situation, and it's quite dire. Now, I live in one of the most exclusive, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, counties in Britain. I live in Buckinghamshire, and the roads here are an absolute disgrace, potholes everywhere. And I remember being on exercise in Kenya with my regiment back in, I think it was 2003, and the roads there were far better. I mean, that says everything, doesn't it? So anyway, my point being, we give and we give and we give, despite the fact that our own house isn't in order. Can you imagine what Britain can do for the rest of the world, charity-wise, once we've sorted our own country out? We simply can't give when we have nothing to give ourselves. It doesn't work like that. And people do take advantage. Anyway, this video is about comic relief. And this year, comic relief raised just £31.9 million. Now compare that to the 80s and the 90s when everyone chipped in, and I mean literally everyone. It was a big thing on the telly, pubs and shops, everyone mucked in to raise money for the needy. And then David Lammy, Labour MP, he put his foot in it, didn't he? And he did this by Twitter. God bless Twitter. Back in 2011, he wrote that Africa doesn't need any more white saviours. Now, this was reference to celebrities going over there and doing their bit, but also, and he has a point here, using it to raise their own profiles, which is disgusting. However, targeting their skin colour was a big no-no, because there are other non-Caucasian celebrities who've done exactly the same thing, and they didn't slag them off one bit. And I think it was a white celebrity called Stacey Dooley at the time, wasn't she? And I can't remember the hell she was on. Either a Celebrity Big Brother or Strictly or something like that. Tell me in the comments. And this went down like a lead balloon with the British public. And a British public, might I add, who are fed up to the back teeth of being called racists for no reason. So in comparison, in 2011, around the time that David Lammy wrote his infamous racist tweet, Comic Relief Red Nose Day raised £108.4 million for charity. And then every year since then, it dwindled and it dwindled and it dwindled. And this year, it raised just shy of £32 million for charity. And that's a huge loss. And that's all thanks to David Lammy and a British public who are fed up with people like him labelling us all racists because he thinks he can get away with it. Well, it didn't. And now poor people in Africa and elsewhere won't be getting their money, or won't be getting as much anyway, or to put it more accurately, the warlords and African dictators, they won't be getting as much to spend on private jets and sports cars. What an absolute cock of a man David Lammy is. He really is thick as mince. Anyway, that's my video. I hope you like. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And until the next time, Roger Trout.